quick video. In fact, one of my friends, Mark Pyers, is doing a premiere in just a few minutes here. So I did want to come out with an official alert, really. As you guys know, I have studied the Cascadia subduction zone quite a bit. In fact, how I started this is I did videos on Cascadia for my family members to allow them to kind of learn about how drastic this next earthquake will be in the Northwest. There was a big earthquake that struck offshore of Vancouver Island this morning. And this is something that people need to pay attention to. And this should be an alert for everybody on the West Coast. The reason why is its placement at the very top of the Cascadia subduction zone. This is a very important area for these things to happen. Over the last year, we've had several that are along the line. And then, of course, tonight over on Marfoogle TV, we'll talk about how there is an actual leak that is happening, and it's letting out this, it could be letting out kind of the grease that keeps it from the pressure from piling up. So we'll talk about that later. It's an extremely bad thing to see, especially on this subduction zone, because when this thing does go off, it will cause a 9.0 earthquake and a subsequent tsunami. So it's going to be the worst disaster that the world has seen, and I'm not even exaggerating about that. To have a 9.0 this close to metropolis areas is absolutely unheard of, and it will be. I think that it is going to be 10 times worse than anything that Japan saw during the 2011 earthquake. So it's really something that this should be a wake-up call among many other events for people to have a basic kind of plan together for an earthquake, especially if you are in the 5 states next to the West Coast. This is going to affect more than just Oregon, California, and Washington. They are preparing in 21 states for this earthquake. That means that they realize that people are literally going to be walking from California, Oregon, and Washington all the way into other states. They're prepared for that as a contingency. So again, that earthquake struck offshore of British Columbia at 8:54 a.m. local time Thursday morning with an estimated 6.0 earthquake. It was at first a 6.5. And I believe it got downgraded. According to the United States Geological Survey, there is some discrepancy, however, in the exact magnitude, as Earthquakes Canada is reporting is at a 5.7. I think it's odd there's discrepancy at all, but again, it says the quake's epicenter was in the Pacific Ocean west of the Vancouver Island, 166 kilometers northwest of Victoria. So that is right at the top of that Cascadia zone. It says British Columbia is no stranger to earthquakes, being situated in an area of active tectonic plates. Most notably, the Cascadia subduction zone resides off the shore of the Pacific Northwest and extends upwards towards Canada's west coast. So here, the Juan de Fuca, essentially that plate exerts pressure against the continental North American plate, and eventually, as the pressure builds up, the Juan de Fuca plate will slip under the North American plate, and it will result in a humongous earthquake. And we're talking about a 9.0 earthquake that will be felt from all the way from BC all the way down to the beginning of California. There is no describing how massive this will be. They said that everything west of I-5 will be toast. That was a FEMA, the head of FEMA at the time said that. And again, nothing much has changed. In fact, now they have upgraded how tall they think the tsunamis will be. They have even changed for the town of Moclips. There was a 120-foot cliff where they had the whole town's evacuation center. That is no longer the evacuation center at the military base there because they believe it will be higher than that in some areas. And that's because of how the lip actually goes up right before land. It will actually increase and possibly even double the wave. So you're talking above a 120-foot wave. And that much they know. So that's really trippy. And again, this is a warning to everybody over on the West Coast. It's not imminent. It is something that this should be a wake-up call. Anytime that these happen, people should be looking at their supplies, looking if they have stuff ready. So again, this is an alert to all of the West Coast. Please consider getting prepared for an earthquake. We have not had one in this area, a big one, since the Nisqually in 2001. It has been over 20 years since we've had a really big one. This is something that people need to pay attention to. It's not going to happen. You're not going to know when it's going to happen. And when it does, it's going to last 5 minutes long. It's going to be so long, people will forget they are in an earthquake. That's how long it's going to be. And then just to go over some of the headlines, and then I'm going to send you guys over to my friend. Air National Guardsman Jack Texiera arrested in the U.S. leaks. We will talk about this tonight. Is the leak plugged? We'll talk about this gentleman who was arrested. Again, the law enforcement officers swarmed the home in North Dighton, Massachusetts, about 20 miles east of Providence, Rhode Island, hours after the New York Times reported that investigators wanted to speak with Texiera, who was reported stationed at Fort Bragg in North Carolina. So we will find out more about this, and we'll show you what we actually know about this. But again, hopefully this guy, hopefully this is the real thing. Otherwise, there's still a huge leak, and we'll see more. I think there's people on both sides rooting for more information or for this guy to get caught. And then, of course, we're going to talk about tonight. President Xi tells the Chinese forces to get ready for real combat. This is like getting, way up there, way faster than we ever thought. It says you must strengthen real combat military training, Xi said, according to the official news service of Xinhua, adding that China must be innovative in its concepts and methods of combat. It said Xi also said that there was a need to improve the ability to respond to complex situations in a timely and appropriate manner, media added. And then we have North Korea launched an actual ICBM. This happened last night after our show, or about during. And essentially, parts of Japan were actually told to shelter in place. They were told to go down into their shelters because at the time, during that 15-minute period, they believed that it was coming at them. North Korea launched an intercontinental ballistic missile, or ICBM, of intermediate range or longer, prompting Japan to issue an immediate evacuation order for residents of Hokkaido Island. The North's latest launch is possibly a test for the new type of weapon system and could be a potentially breakthrough. And it says the new missile test could be a breakthrough for Pyongyang's ICBM arsenal that is banned by the UN. The missile test was led Japan issuing an immediate evacuation order for residents of Hokkaido Island, which was later retracted by authorities and ascertained it did not fall into their territory. It ended up in the ocean, but the general thing is now with any kind of nukes flying, as we know that Russia right now has not held up to their end of the treaty. So when any kind of nukes go flying, it's kind of scary right now because obviously if Russia even does a test like they did the other day, they're not going to tell us first. As far as North Korea, they've never told us. So things could go really, really wrong and really, really sideways really, really quick. And then Kev calls for NATO to secure the Black Sea. This is going to be a big deal. We'll talk about that tonight on Marfoogle TV. And then we're going to talk about how Warren Buffett says the threat of war was a consideration in his decision to dump the bulk of his $4 billion stake in TSMC, the chip maker. There's a lot of really big moves going right now. And this is like big picture, connect the dots, people. People are dumping their stocks. People are getting their golden passports. People are getting ready for a massive conflict. And there's going to be a huge chunk of people up until the very second that every kind of war is declared, that people are essentially going to tell you that you're crazy, that you're overreacting, or that you're fear-mongering. Again, this is a prepper's channel from a prepper standpoint. People should have a basic plan, and that's what I've been saying for 5 years. And over those 5 years, we have looked at every little step that this has taken, and now it's at the very top of the stairway, and people are still kind of in the dark about this. So I hope that people pay attention. I hope people tune into our show in just a little bit. It's going to be on earlier. Unfortunately, we have some time constraints tonight, so we will be going on in about half an hour here. So make sure to join us over on Marfoogle TV. And make sure to also get yourself some backup power over at marfooglenews.com/energy. If you want the best solar generator out there, then make sure to go check that out. It also helps support us, and you get a giant discount right now. So it's definitely great to have. Again, they have a stacking sale with the X2 and with the LT, which are about out. So make sure to go check that out. marfooglenews.com/energy, INERGY. We'll see you over in just a few minutes, but right now, if you can, for a few minutes, go pop over to Mark Pyre's channel. He's doing a premiere, and he is also, he's put together a movie that he's made himself, Back to the Future. It's kind of he's a comedian, and he's / multi-talented, and he's a good friend of ours. He puts a lot of work into these things, so please at least give it a try. He has a really awesome community. They're very sweet. We'll put the links down below, and then we'll also link it on tonight's show. So if you want to go after the show and check it out, then you can as well. I love you guys. Thank you so much. And make sure to support all of our Foogle friends and all of the friends out there. And make sure to let people on the West Coast know about this. Many people don't follow it. As far as the 6.0 earthquake or the 5.7, whatever it may be, the placement of it is extremely telling of what is happening right now, especially when we go over tonight's leak, this leak that is letting out essentially this I guess lubricant that helps it not go off. If that's leaking out, that's not a good sign. So we'll talk about it tonight, and I'll let you guys know more. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out. Thank you for the support. Any super chat will be shouted out on the next video. Thank you guys so much, and I appreciate you. Be safe, be prepared, and Marf out.